you took an oath to the Constitution. Isn't it unconstitutional to say you cannot exercise your carry license?
With one exception, and that is if there's an emergency, and I've declared an emergency for a temporary amount of time, I can invoke additional powers. No constitutional right, in my view, including my oath, is intended to be absolute. There are restrictions on free speech. There are restrictions on my freedoms. In this emergency, this 11-year-old and all these parents who have lost all these children, they deserve my attention to have the debate about whether or not in an emergency we can create a safer environment. Because what about their constitutional rights? I took an oath to uphold those too. And if we ignore this growing problem without being bold, I've said to every other New Mexican, your rights are subrogated to theirs. And they are not, in my view.
Wait a minute, okay. You're talking about crimes. There are already laws against the crimes, so how are their rights?
I got it, but again, if I'm unsafe, who's standing up for that right? If this climate is so out of control, somebody should do something. I'm doing as much as I know to do.
Madam Governor, do you really think that criminals are going to hear this message and not carry a gun in Albuquerque on the streets for 30 days?
No.
That, my friends, was perhaps the single most incoherent drivel ever uttered by a Democrat. And that's saying something. I mean, that woman actually makes Kamala Harris look intelligent by comparison. What you just heard was not merely an attempt to defend the abolition of the Second Amendment in the state of New Mexico, but one that admitted in the end that it wasn't going to work. The only people in New Mexico that will be adversely affected by the abolition of the Second Amendment are the very law-abiding citizens the Second Amendment is there to protect. You see, this is what happens when you vote in Democrats. The very people that tell you that Donald Trump led an insurrection against the United States Constitution, those very people are the first ones to openly and deliberately deny you your constitutional rights. So you just saw the hyper-liberal governor of New Mexico, Michelle Grisham, just ban the right to bear arms in her state. If you're in New Mexico and you have a permit to conceal carry, that permit is no longer valid for the next 30 days because of this state of emergency that she just declared. Just like COVID, right? Democrats use health and safety as a cover to cancel out your constitutional rights. Now, of course, this is not going to stand. No one in their right mind thinks this ban is going to pass judicial scrutiny. Already the governor is being taken to court. Gun Owners of America is suing her. The National Association of Gun Rights is suing her. There is no way this ban is going to withstand judicial scrutiny. It won't even need to get to the Supreme Court. Moreover, the calls for impeaching this governor over her obvious disavowal of the Constitution to which she swore allegiance are exploding all over the place. New Mexico State Representative John Block is openly calling for her impeachment. Even Elon Musk, he's calling for immediate impeachment. Ari David responded to Musk with, quote, "I think what she did is technically sedition and she should be arrested, denied bail, and sentenced to 22 years in federal prison according to current standards of justice." Yeah, amen to that. But I think Cat Turd said it best. Trump just won New Mexico. And I think Cat Turd's absolutely right. The political ramifications of this ban are starting to dawn on Democrats. Even otherwise reliable left-wing loons are pushing back against it. The ultra-leftist congressman from California, Ted Lieu, tweeted out, "I support gun safety laws. However, this order from the governor of New Mexico violates the U.S. Constitution. No state in the union can suspend the federal Constitution. There is no such thing as a state public health emergency exception to the U.S. Constitution." Even David Hogg, the rabidly anti-gun left-wing activist, even Hogg is pushing back against this. He tweeted out, "I support gun safety, but there is no such thing as a state public health emergency exception to the U.S. Constitution. Robbie Starbuck couldn't help himself. He had to comment on that tweet. Are you okay? Have you hit your head? I can't believe you just said something sane. Yeah, I mean, this ban is potentially so politically detrimental. The Democrats are starting to freak out over it, and I'm going to show you exactly why. But first, gang, how many UFC fans do we have out there? We know the one and only Donald Trump is a huge UFC fan, as are the fighters of him. But have you ever wondered what they do to manage their pain? Well, you don't have to, because a fellow patriot and good friend of this channel is precisely the one who provides relief to that pain, and he's here to do the same for all of you. We all know that as we age, aches and pains are normal, but they don't have to be, and that's where the groundbreaking medical scientist Clint Winters comes in. You've seen Clint on Fox. You've seen him a number of times on this channel. He's a world-renowned health expert who's unveiled a natural pain reliever that's taking the world by storm. It's called CB2. It's the 100% drug-free way to get full-body pain relief without dangerous meds, and it is the official pain reliever for the fighters in the UFC. And the best news is CB2 has no documented side effects whatsoever after years of private testing. It's absolutely the future of pain relief. So whatever you do, click on that link in the description below and check out Clint's amazingly informative report on how CB2 is changing lives by providing safe and powerful relief at a fraction of the cost of pain pills. Click on that link below right now. DC Drano reminded all of us what happened the last time a Democratic governor defiled the Constitution like this. Hey, New Mexico, when Virginia Governor Ralph post-birth abortion blackface infringed on the Second Amendment in 2020. Over 18,000 patriots showed up to Richmond to protest his tyranny. Republicans won every statewide office in the next election. It's time to peacefully organize. Now, what he's talking about there are scenes like this one. This is what happened when then Governor Ralph Northam and the Democrat legislature implemented one of the most draconian anti-Second Amendment policies in the nation, in Virginia, of all places. And so in response, gun owners throughout the state mobilized with extraordinary swiftness, such that the local governments of 86 of Virginia's 95 counties, 86 of 95 counties, as well as 15 towns and cities, immediately passed Second Amendment sanctuary laws, putting all the left-wing radicals on notice that their anti-Second Amendment plans will indeed be resisted and thwarted, which, of course, we're already seeing in New Mexico. Gun owners, many visibly armed, rallied in Old Town Albuquerque over the weekend in defiance of the governor's unconstitutional executive order. And police there did not enforce it, even though people were openly carrying. The police did not enforce the order. Moreover, you already have the Albuquerque DA's office saying they're openly not going to enforce the governor's executive order. New Mexico sheriffs are coming out and saying they're not going to enforce it either. It's dead on arrival. So you're already seeing this massive blowback within New Mexico. But in Virginia, that blowback at the county level was just a precursor to the massive blowout election that followed when the Republican Glenn Youngkin soundly defeated the pathetic Democrat Terry McAuliffe for the governor's mansion. And the Republicans not only won all three statewide races that year, but they took back the control of the House, the state House as well. An absolute blowout election for the GOP. And this is why Democrats are starting to freak out so much over this idiot New Mexico governor. The Second Amendment is always a losing issue for Democrats. Even in the bluest of blue states, Second Amendment rights are absolutely paramount. We saw it most recently in Illinois when their ultra-leftist governor signed sweeping legislation that officially banned so-called assault weapons, which of course are simply semi-automatic rifles and pistols, basically 9mm. There's no such thing as an actual assault weapon. The name was coined in the 1980s by a lunatic anti-gun activist to try to turn public opinion away from guns as a whole. But regardless, they passed this ban in Illinois, but law enforcement throughout the entire state rose up and declared their unequivocal refusal to enforce the new law. Sheriffs in over 90 of Illinois' counties have publicly stated that they will not, under any circumstances, enforce this new draconian law on their residents. What that means is that 90%, you heard that right, 90% of Illinois' counties are to this day officially refusing to enforce this blatantly anti-Second Amendment law. So all of this is to say that this ultra-leftist governor may have done to New Mexico what Ralph Northam did to Virginia. It may be in the end that this governor just gave her state to Trump in 2024. Are you ready to join the resistance? Because I'm leading a group of dedicated, courageous patriots who can lead a spearhead into the heart of the secular globalist establishment. We punished Bud Light and Target, driven CNN and the legacy media to near bankruptcy, forced BlackRock to backtrack on ESG, and now we're seeing our conservative-dominated Supreme Court ending affirmative action and protecting religious liberty. In my Insiders Club, I show you concrete steps to take locally and online that will only keep this mass uprising going until the battle is won. Don't wait. Click the link in my description below and join my Courageous Patriots Insiders Club today.